same procedure for the back block. I'm going to put centre back and grain line down here on this bottom cross. Onto that line, you put your block and check that it lines up exactly, one on top of the other, and then weight it just as you did for the front. Smooth out the darts so that it's sitting flat on your piece of paper. So now you're going to trace your back block onto the paper using the same procedure that you did for the front. And now you then pencil in your trace marks. So the next stage of the back block work is to put the seam allowances on. I've roughly cut this out again so it's a smaller piece of paper, and I'm going to show you the folding out of the darts again. Before that, I'm just going to remove this chunk as well. So you need access within the paper area here to get to this dart, and it's easier to just trim a bit down the armhole and the whole of the back neck, and then pinch the sides of the darts in again, down either side of the line. And then fold it from the neck edge towards the shoulder and pin. And again, you'll see it's slightly out. So take the ruler and straighten it up. and then once again you cut it with the dart shut. Open it up, and it's particularly noticeable on the back shoulder dart what the uptake is within the seam allowance area. It's quite a lot of shaping, and this is the only way that I know of to get it accurately. It's by folding the dart and cutting them shut. So I'm now going to cut down the centre back line here, the seam allowance line, and then the armhole, and ending up at the waist to do exactly the same thing down there with the waist dart. So the back waist dart, pinch it on that line, and then pinch it on the other, and then fold the side of the dart that's nearer the centre back, fold that over towards the side seam. And pin, and then once again you're going to cut that shut. Now on closer observation, when I was cutting around this off camera, I've actually noticed that my tracing wheel line is slightly closer in, so I'm just going to, before I cut the waistline dart, I'm just going to adjust this. I can't have pressed hard enough when I wheeled. And then you just put back the seam allowance again, and it like that. And all designers end up doing this because when you're creating a toile, a pattern rather, when you're creating a pattern, you're not necessarily going to draw it absolutely perfectly ever, first time out. So if you've got an anomaly of lines here, just cross through the one that's wrong so it doesn't confuse you. It doesn't matter that you've got an area of working out, and then this section of paper I'm going to trim away, so it's just corrected that to a better shape. And the last piece to cut off is across the waist. So you've now got the complete back block that is labelled and it has seam allowances. And starting with the shoulder line, you've got 1.5 or 5/8 of an inch on the shoulder line, the centre back neck, the armhole, and at the waist. The side seam and the centre back seam have got 2.5 or 1 inch. The rest of the information tells you that this is the centre back and straight grain, and that it is back bodice cut 2, and that's marking the back bust line. It's a continuous line when you measure the entire bust all the way around. So this line across here lines up with the bust line across the front of the dress stand. The reason that you have a centre back seam on here is because if you're creating a proper three-dimensional toile, you've got to have a way of getting in and out of it. And for this one, we're theoretically doing it up at the back. The cross-back line in pattern cutting shorthand is marked with an X. You can write it as a cross-back line, it's just that that's quicker.